Ghana imports over 60% of the fish it consumes. The alternative to reduce this trend is fish farming. But then there are challenges in the fish farming industry. I'm here on News Connect on City TV to have a conversation with industry players. My name is Kojo Ajman. Join me. So what are some of the major challenges that you face as a fish farmer?
Okay, as fish farming industry, what the major challenges that we face can be put in three major perspectives. Let me put it this way. One is our feeding. Currently, there's one major feed producing company in Ghana.
Only one?
Only one, okay, and that makes, there's high demand from other industry players, so always the feed is expensive. And when it's expensive, that means it also results in the high production cost. That means the fish is going to be sold at at a very high prices, which makes many customers complain. So that's one thing. If we're able to get more fish feed producing centers, it will be able to help control this problem for us. Okay. And secondly, most of the materials that are used for aquaculture production, most of them are imported. If you want to do a large scale production, they are imported and they are expensive, and there is no government subsidy for these materials. That also makes the cost of production very expensive. Another major one I will talk about is the threat of infection. As at now, there's most of the time there is high mortality rate on the lake. So whatever you're producing, you lose a lot. And the main challenge here is that the ministry, most of them lack the vaccines that needs to be used for the treatment of these the fish stock. So what happens is, when you are faced with this virus or infection, that means you are going to lose. And I've already told you about the feed costs, the logistics or the material costs. So if after spending so much on this, you have to lose most of your fish, how are you going to survive? You've run loss.
Basically, the ministry have to come with other alternatives. Since the industry players, especially in feed, is a major single company, it becomes difficult regulating their prices. One way or the other is like a monopoly that they are enjoying. So it becomes difficult regulating them. And some of the logistics that we bring, they have to give us subsidies. Though I know there are some avenues that the ministry can use to help, but that is not forthcoming as at now. And as my brother said, there are some other also major challenges on sales section operational activities. Like if you are well established, you can be identified like voter catch. Then you have no other option than to fulfill all obligations, the requirements by the industry players, the authorities. But if you have other companies that are not regulated, since they are not bearing that cost, operational cost, that reduces the burden for them to sell cheaply at a cheaper cost. So there should be a centered regulatory body that inculcates all other fishing bodies, so that the burden will not be on one company. That you want to play well, you want to be more efficient, you want to be bring the quality out, your standard have to be up there, then you face a burden and hence increases your operational cost. It has been a major problem that we're facing, because when your operational cost is high, you have no other option than to pass some of it to the customers.
One of the major challenges we are facing is getting our exemption on most of the things that we import.
Tax? You mean tax exemption?
Tax exemption, yeah, tax exemption, which we are, entitled to, but because of this kind of bureaucracy in this our system, you apply for an exemption for an item that you have to clear. You have to go through a fisheries ministry to get the approval first, and then you go to a Ministry of Finance to get approval before sending it to GRA. In fact, by the time you finish completing all these processes, your goods has arrived, and you have to clear. And if you want to wait to get the exemption before you clear, the mortgage is piling up. So you end up paying for the duty and then try to get a refund from government. You have to always, pay. You either get the exemption first or you pay and then go for refund.
So far, I've not seen much from the industry, from the regulatory bodies. Because first of all, as I said, I've not seen the subsidy on feed. Now, even if you decide, and as I said, it's one major company. What about if you grow and they are not able to meet your production demand? That means you have to resort to the foreign market. And that is, the current foreign exchange. That means still it's going to be expensive. It's going to be expensive. So I think that now the aquaculture industry is a growing sector. It's something that can really support the economy, that the government needs to pay attention to. As I said about the mortality rate, the vaccines that needs to be used for the treatment of these fish needs to be made available. There should be constant monitoring on the farms to support the industry, because most of these farms cannot afford these vaccines. They are very expensive. Yeah. And to get the license to import them, it's not even easy. You need to go through a lot. So the vaccines are not available. You cannot also even bring it, even if you have the capacity. What happens is when there's any infection, you need to all the fish are going to die. Like human beings, the population, any infection can come, but you can go to the hospital and get the right medication. Where your fish, your tilapia is sick, where do you go?
If we have the FDA and there is a production in a certain lake, we don't know where they are bringing the stock from. They can park at any roadside and sell. Even the hygienic condition of the place they are selling. Have you considered that? Fish can fall on the floor, the bare floor, and people pick it back to sell to other people, cook it to other people. A floor that is not regulated, what has been done? It will end up being at your home. So the regulatory bodies must be up and doing. It's more of being on the field than being in the office.
I clear vaccine, and I clear the vaccines through air, cargo air. So you need, one of the requirements that you need to get the exemption approved is the bill of lading or the air, way bill. And you can only get the air way bill when let's say the cargo has left, the importation destination. So when will you get the approval within that, few, hours? No, not few days. If you are using air cargo, it's within hours for you to get the approval, to get the exemption. So you end up paying for the taxes and then reapply for the exemption, which we never get for, almost like, 3-4 years now. We have a lot of exemptions that we've sent to the GRN and other things. We've still not gotten any of them. And it's a lot of, millions of, Ghana cedis exemption on our feed import, our vaccine import, and some specialized assets that we are supposed to get exemption from. And all those monies are piling up with government.
Ineffective monitoring by the regulator is one of the challenges fish farmers are facing. They are calling for an aquaculture policy which they believe will address the many challenges facing the fish farming industry. This has been another episode of News Connect on City TV. My name is Kojo Achman. Let's connect soon.